You don't talk about that day, maybe not even to yourself. It was the moment everything cracked, when time stopped, when a version of you broke that never came back the same, and everyone else moved on. But part of you stayed, in that memory, in that pain. You didn't see God there, you didn't feel Him. All you remember is the silence, the confusion, the deep ache of being alone in something that no one else fully understood. And so you assumed He wasn't there, that if He had been, it wouldn't have happened, that if He cared, it would have felt different. And ever since, that one wound made you question everything, your faith, your worth, your voice. You never said it out loud, but part of you stopped expecting Him to show up, because back then, it felt like He didn't. But what if you missed Him, not because He wasn't there, but because He wasn't where you expected Him to be? You looked for rescue, for a way out, for someone to stop the pain. But He came in a different form, in the breath that didn't give out, in the tear that carried your prayer when your voice couldn't, in the person who showed up without knowing what to say, but still stayed. You thought God had to come loud, obvious, with answers and explanations, but sometimes He just comes close, quietly, steadily, sitting beside you in the dark you didn't think you'd survive. And even if you couldn't feel Him then, He was holding you in ways you wouldn't understand until now, not fixing the pain, but carrying you through it. Because He never promised to stop every storm, but He did promise He'd never leave you in one. And if you look closer, really look, you'll start to see Him, in the moments that didn't make sense but somehow held you together, in the breakdown that should have been the end but birthed something new in you, in the pain that exposed what was real, what was fragile, what you needed to release. He was there, not waving a wand but whispering strength, not erasing the past but redeeming it. You thought you were alone in that memory, but God was standing in the fragments, collecting every shattered piece. You didn't know it then, but your survival was proof. You didn't just make it through, you were carried. And maybe the reason you're still here isn't because the pain ended, but because His presence never did. You keep replaying that memory, wondering where God was. But what if that very memory, messy, painful, raw, is where He was holding you the tightest? Not standing at a distance, not judging, but kneeling beside you, bleeding with you, grieving what you lost. Because He doesn't just meet us in churches or miracles. He meets us in the mess, in the hospital room, in the fight you didn't start, in the goodbye you didn't want to say, in the moment your soul split and you didn't think you'd recover. That's where He sets up camp, not because the pain glorifies Him, but because your heart does, even in breaking. He was there when no one else knew what to do, when no one else noticed what you were carrying. He noticed, He stayed, not as a bystander, as a savior. And maybe now, looking back, you realize what broke you also built you, that even in the ache, something sacred was happening. God wasn't rescuing you from the fire, He was refining you in it. He didn't take away the pain, but He transformed it. Every moment you didn't think you'd survive became a moment He shaped you into someone softer, deeper, stronger. Someone who knows what it means to be held when there's nothing left to hold on to. And no, He didn't erase the memory, but He's rewriting what it means. No longer a symbol of absence, but a story of presence. The place you thought proved He had left is now the place that proves He stayed. Because the pain didn't win, the silence didn't define you, His presence did. So maybe the question isn't, where was God, but how did I not see Him sooner? Because He was there, in the breath you still had, in the person who didn't give up on you, in the strength you didn't know you had. He was there when you broke, when you cried, when you collapsed. Not after the pain, but inside it. And now you know, He doesn't just show up in light, He shows up in the dark too. In the middle of your worst moment, His love didn't walk away. It leaned in closer. And maybe that's the most powerful kind of presence. Not the one that stops the storm, but the one that stays through it. He was there, He still is. And now, that memory doesn't define your pain, it declares His faithfulness. What's one moment you thought God had missed, but now you see He was there too?